you. So we gather this morning not only to celebrate the Feast of the Ascension, but of course to welcome and baptize Jason and Keith's two children. And it is a joy to welcome you here. So we celebrate this Feast of the Ascension. And as I said at the beginning, this is probably one of the feasts that, for those of us who were brought up in the Catholic Church, and I don't know if everybody was brought up in the Catholic Church, but for many, many years it was celebrated on a Thursday. And for that reason, probably, there are so many who aren't really familiar with this particular feast. But as I said at the beginning, various dioceses have made it available for the weekend after that Thursday. One of the things that this morning, the opening prayer to every liturgy, besides being called the opening prayer, has another name too. Some of us might know what the name is. Tim, you know what it's called? It's called the collect. Or another way to pronounce it is the collect. Not the collection, but the collect. And the whole purpose of calling it that is that we are collecting whatever we are presenting to God in prayer. Listen to the opening prayer. Eternal God, not a God of my own imagination, but an eternal God who lives in a very special way with us as a promise that that presence of God would be with us not only now, but throughout all eternity. You have exalted humanity. We realize what those words say? Exalted us. You have made us, as Psalm 8 says in the Hebrew Scriptures, a little less than the angels. God has crowned us, as Psalm 8 says, with glory and honor, and has given us dominion over all of creation. That doesn't mean to abuse it. But as Franciscan friars in a Franciscan parish, what we always talk about is the gift of Francis and the manner in which he acknowledged all of creation. This isn't something new. This is, those words of Psalm 8 were probably written 2,000 or 3,000 years before Jesus of Nazareth walked the earth. And yet we still have to be reminded. In a very special way, we have to realize that God does exalt us. And maybe if we realize that more and more, each one of us will be more of a gift to the other person. Each one of us will take that Last Supper commandment of Jesus to love one another. And again, as we say here time and time again, we weren't asked to like everybody. We're asked to love one another, to respect and have honor for that humanity which is exalted by God. And then the rest of that first paragraph says, God has revealed our dignity. And sometimes maybe we always don't feel that we're in that dignified presence of Christ. Maybe when we have those envious thoughts, those thoughts of pride, those thoughts of not really loving one another. So we celebrate today this Feast of Ascension. And as people of faith, we know that we come from God. We know that we spend so many days or months or years here. And then as people of faith, we know we return to God's presence. Jesus came among us, born as we were born, lived as we live, died as a Jewish carpenter. But he was raised as the eternal cosmic Christ, without an identity for all of humanity. We come from God, we stay here for so long, and then we return to God, just as Jesus did, to give us the example, to live in God's light every day. So yes, we are exalted. Yes, we are dignified by God's presence within us. Let's keep that in mind so each day we may be instruments of God's peace. And while you do that, pray for me as I pray for you. And may God bless us and keep us. May God's face shine upon us and give us peace, now and always.
Amen. Amen.